Herzlich willkommen bei Leadership, Wisdom und Insights. Präsentiert von Dr. Erika Kleestorfer.
Welcome to a new edition of Leadership Insights and Wisdom. Nicole, what a pleasure to have you here. It's funny for me because we're both Austrians, yet it's easier for both of us right now to speak in English. So a very warm welcome. Thanks for taking time to talk about your leadership wisdom and also your insights. You are the Chief Corporate Affairs Manager and Communications Manager or Communications Officer at Western Union in Denver. Oh. And yeah, I'm really happy that you take the time. What I know is, and we've talked a little bit before, Western Union has currently 12,000 employees in 50 locations globally. You manage around 40 people right now, a global team. And yeah, the next, let's say, half an hour is for us to exchange. And the idea here really is to learn from you, to learn from your experience, your wisdom, and also the challenges you face every single day as a leader, as a female leader. So welcome.
First of all, thank you very much, Erika, for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here. Gerade als Österreicherin, as we said before, English, it's been my language, meine Sprache für die letzten 10 years, so it's just easier for me to the words in English and German. So
yeah, we will mix it. Yeah,
we'll make it exactly. But happy to share my insights and experience with you and your audience. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, my first question is, now that we are in month 4 of Corona, how did you as a manager experience the last couple of months, and what were the main challenges, but also what were the opportunities for you and the organization?
My experience there. Oh. Erika, I think the last 4 months have been challenging for really everyone around the globe. Certainly, as a business leader, you see various angles of that challenge, but I think it's important to, during times like that, you need to think of the human aspects of crisis, right? From a business perspective, Western Union is one of the largest money movers in the world. We are serving customers in really every country across the globe. And you mentioned our almost 12,000 employees, right? And they are spread across roughly 50 countries. So one of our challenges, as many other global companies, was really to make sure that our employees are safe and secure, but at same time that we enable them to do the needed, may it be to move into a fully remote working operation, and at the same time really make sure that we keep our services up and running for our customers, right? A big part of our business is to serve remittance customers. These customers, we're talking here about flows of about $700 billion annually, that move between countries, between individuals. That money, if you think of it, just to give you some perspective, foreign direct investment is a little lower than the 700 billion. So remittances have overtaken in 2018 in terms of volume, the flows. It is funding that really is a lifeline for many individuals across the globe. It's funding that spurs economic growth in many developing markets. And in times of crisis, that is really when these funds are counting the most, right? If they stop, then people can't go to school anymore, can't run their businesses, can't often buy their food or pay for rent. So it is something that we as Western Union and employees take very seriously on the role we play and the services that we provide. So what I've experienced is actually in many of our employees, the leadership team at Western Union and myself, we were impressed on how passionate our employees were, of course, to keep their loved ones safe, themselves safe, but at the same time really step up and do the needed to keep our business running and serve our customers across the globe.
Fantastic.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Yeah, that was a big step for us, right? And a wonderful to see how this purpose that it is at the core of our business really serves as this North Star during times of crisis.
Fantastic. No, it sounds like, listening to you, it sounds like that the crisis actually brought even more out of your employees, so you could feel their own concern for their own families, but also they really wanted to make a difference and contribute to the greater good, let's say, in the world, so to those who are not as lucky as we are or as privileged as we are.
Absolutely.
And how do you deal with, I mean, I don't know, how is it in your organization? Is everyone working from home, and does everyone do homeschooling at the same time? So how is it for you also as a mother? So juggling many things at the same time.
As we said before, I think this crisis had put off a lot of demands. Again, you said it, right? I personally are certainly privileged compared to other individuals, right? How across the globe they have to deal with this crisis and the impact this crisis has on their lives. But certainly for Western Union and our employees, yes, we have swiftly moved our workforce remotely into almost full employees, and the full employee base really delivering their responsibilities remotely. We had a little bit of an advantage in terms of being a global company, also being in China, right? We monitored early on in February the situation there, had experience to test, okay, we're moving our Chinese workforce remotely. How did that work? But obviously doing that on a global scale, all the global operation centers that we have in Lithuania and in Costa Rica or Manila, that really takes the game to a different dimension to do that. And our platform team has really done a fantastic job to implement the business continuity plans. And that worked actually really, really smoothly for us, I would say. Of course, you have to work through little things like, oh my God, do we have enough laptops, right? Things like that. How do we redistribute laptops, for example, right? From functions that really need to keep having access to their devices on moving forward, right? Versus others who are also very essential in delivering their roles, but probably a tier 2 priority at this point in time. So this is nevertheless a very sensitive topic for employees, right? Because everyone is doing their part to keep up the job, but it's these details that come out, right? Even if you have a perfect business continuity plan, you learn what you need to reach given the specific situation. So that was one, that's the business part of it. But then, as we said before, there's the whole human aspect, right? I think there has never been a time, certainly that I remember, but even more senior leaders across the globe and in Western Union that have experienced a time that has such high uncertainty. Because if you think back in March, I think no one really knew, right? People were worried about, will I get groceries, right? Will I be able to buy food? Yeah, everyone was stocking up, ordered cans on Amazon, right? These were things that people were worried about, but at the same time, they were trying to keep the ball rolling. And in my case, my team, the corporate affairs and communications team, they played a critical role at the beginning because they needed to be this information lifeline towards our employees and really help our teams, our site leaders, our executive team, the HR team, right, to really keep continuous flow of information to our employees, and in a two-way strategy, right? It's not just talking at your employees. It's about really listening what their concerns are and then taking that into account and building out your continuity plans and your remote working plans. And many of them in my team, many in particular, are young parents. Many of them actually are females, and they. Again, I can only say I'm impressed, right? How they managed it. I myself have 2 little boys. They are 4 and 6, and schools closed and moved to virtual learning. you ever have tried to teach a 4-year-old virtually, that by itself is an experience. So bless all the teachers who did their best. But at the end of the day, having an elevated demand on your job while at the same time caring for your kids requires teamwork and a lot of flexibility, right? It requires teamwork within the families, the wives or husbands helping out, taking turns, being available, but at times earlier in the day and later at night, but then taking out chunks of time during the day where you need to take care of either your parents or maybe elderly that also needed specific care or precautions not to bring the virus home to them, or maybe to care for kids. It's an interesting experience, and I think people have stepped up and done and delivered beyond what they have actually imagined that they can do.
Yeah, and I've seen, it's interesting for me to observe, I've seen people who were very calm and very confident and very optimistic in the crisis, in this extreme new situation, and others, they were totally out of their comfort zone. And I'm sure you have also both in your teams. But just coming back to you, so how in general, because this is what people always want to hear also, is how do you usually recharge your batteries? So what do you do before you sense, oh, I'm maybe at the edge where it's too much? So how do you do that?
How do I do that? I think for me, it's, to be honest, in times like that, it's also hard for me to, off and step away. In my case, I have been lucky of also having support, right? And having my nanny help out together with my husband, who is a big support. I had the pleasure to move into a new house actually with a big yard right before the COVID crisis. So just being in a different place and in a place that I'm feeling home and comfortable, and that I can, since we are home all the time, right? I can spend time on making even more my own home, and go outside is something that really helps me to step away, calm my mind, because that's what I think is needed, what I need, right? To really think, need to calm my mind. And sports certainly helps. There's a tennis court was closed for the longest time, finally open. So I've been teaching myself tennis with my husband together. These are the things that we do in order to get away a little bit, because that is what I think you need to be very mindful of, right? If you're moving to a remote working environment, which can easily kind of make any everyday blend into each other, right? You're always at your laptop, there's no commute, right? You get up and the world has started, particularly if you're a global company.
Yeah.
A conscious effort. And my kids, right? They demand time. Kids demand time, and it's a very, very different way of spending time. So making intentionally time to not just feed them, but play with them, right? Spend time, do something different. Is a good reminder for all of us.
As you said, mindfulness, but also taking yourself important enough to really take the time or space to recharge, because I've been working with so many excellent leaders globally, and we've learned to function well. However, sometimes, there was not enough emphasis maybe on the inner leadership side to really recharge and to take good care of your own boundaries and your energy and your inner clarity, stability, and so on. And especially in times of crisis, of course, these sides get clearer then, or more obvious. Now, you're in a very demanding leadership role, and for me it's fantastic to see a woman like you being in such an important role in a global organization, because so far there's still not enough women in leadership roles. Now, what would you say, and you also, and this is on top, you're in the US, so you have your company culture, there's the local culture. We know the leadership in the US that is currently challenging, I would say, So what is it for you as a female leader in the top position? What would you like to see more about leadership, maybe in general in the world? What would you like to see differently or more or for less of?
It's a good question, right? Because I think there are probably some generic cures to what we see happening right now, and probably not cures, ways how we can improve the situation. And others are very localized, right? In particular, if you think of equality, right, and racial injustice, the whole conversation that we have that started now in the US due to the death of George Floyd. But in general, I feel like June has been, for Western Union, but for many American countries, a very intense month, because it's also in the US, it's Pride Month, right? So that brings me back to my topic. It's equality is a big word, right? And equality, you have to look at it from many aspects: racial equality, ethnic equality, cultural differences, right? That you want to consider, gender equality, sexual orientation, right? Equality in that aspect. That's lots of that conversation has restarted in June. What we at Western Union, you mentioned the company culture, right? Are definitely having a focus on diversity in itself. We serve such a diverse customer base, as I mentioned before, and we try to mirror that with our employee base. So while we are mindful, it also has forced us, right? It's one of our biggest core values is that we are globally minded and that can come from anywhere. It also has forced us to take another critical look at, do we do enough, right? Do we do enough in order to enable equality? It is the broadest aspect, and that is where we have focused as a company a lot of is gender equality, because you mentioned me as a female leader. I certainly have been very lucky to have sponsors across my career. I have had great leaders. I also had terrible leaders. The good thing is you can learn a lot from the terrible ones too. But you need sponsors. I think you need to, I'm not mentioning all the things that you need to do anyway. You need to be committed. You need to work hard, right? But you need sponsors. And I think there are lots of females, if we stay on the gender equality topic, it's just one angle of that. There are lots of female networks that I think are great, and we need those, and there should be more of those, and men do that naturally, right? They build their network, but women seems to be not necessarily a natural skill, right? To advocate for themselves, to present themselves, and it is okay to do so. And I think that is something that is interesting to me in the US culture. It's even more okay. Yeah. Comfortable with yourself and be proud of what you do and what you have accomplished and how you got there. So I think for Austrians in particular, or Austrian female leaders, I think there is something to be learned from that, right? That it is okay to hout your own horn and be clean. You can bring along others. It's never you alone. You have done it, but it is others that supported you. But back to the sponsorship topic, many of my sponsors were male sponsors. And this is, I think, what we need to be aware of as female leaders or female talent that has aspiration to join leadership circles in their companies. There are just more men there, right? There are just more men there that can give you a hint, right, and help you to really think through the opportunities that you can pursue. I think that is one thing that I would love to see more of, this true sponsorship, this combined sponsorship of men and women, because we are together in the workplace. It's just more powerful.
Oh, I really liked it, because this is, I think I told you I studied in the US, and this is what I always appreciated there, was this joy for others. You know, if you're successful, I'm happy for you, you know, yeah, cool. And it's not that they envy you like in Europe or in Austria, but it's like, wow, I want to learn from you. That's cool. And I think that's very important, so that there is really wholehearted, let's say, support. But also women need to step up, as you said. Women need to also ask for it. And I still remember my first boss at IBM, and back then we had 320,000 employees. He said to me, Erika, you can achieve everything here. I was 29. You can achieve everything, but you have to speak up. You have to say what you'd like to do, and then we can support you. And as you said, it's a two-way conversation. So And I think this is definitely something for women to really stand their ground, be proud of what they've achieved, you know, and
I want to add something to that, Erika, actually, because one thing that I've experienced myself often when I spoke to other female leaders, what probably never crossed necessarily my mind and helped me is this: is it the right moment, right? Is now the right moment to raise my hand for this opportunity? Can I do it? Obviously, we all know this. There are 10 things that are listed as requirements for a job description, right? And women will raise their hand if they at least fulfill 8 or 9. Men might be more confident and say, I can do this, right? Even if they really check the box for them. But I think it's this, I truly believe, okay, there are moments that are really probably very difficult moments, but the right moment, there is never the right moment, right? There is never the right moment. And I think confidence is important, and that's also what sponsors and mentors can help you find, right? This confidence that you can do it, give it a try, right? You don't have to do it alone. You can ask for help, right? Where you in areas where you need help, but don't wait for the right moment, because this moment might never come. And in particular for women, right, who might aspire to have a career and a family. I don't think it's a choice that stretches. It's definitely challenging, but don't make it a choice. It doesn't have to be a choice, right? I really think give it a try.
I love that. Absolutely, absolutely. It's confident, and it's also courage, and also that we encourage others. So it's the empowerment, the inner empowerment, but the inner confidence, as you said, but also the encouragement of myself, so that I encourage myself, but also others. So what do you love most about being a leader when it comes to people development, people growth, let's say?
Yeah, it's actually leading a team is a big responsibility, right? And to some, it might sound easier before they have done it the first time. I think, I mean, talent is critical. Everyone knows that, right? It's critical to keep really a cutting edge in business, to be innovative, right? Diversity plays a big role when it comes to talent, right? Really diversity of thought. Yeah, I often think, okay, I know what it takes. I know exactly what we need to do. And then nevertheless, in conversations, my team members come up with ideas that wouldn't even have crossed my mind, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's this really, for me as a leader, I think it's this enablement aspect. You can lead by giving guidance. You can lead by, setting strategy and managing performance is probably the textbook definition, right? Giving your team a sense of purpose, right? So why are we here? Why are we here? And what is our contribution to what we are trying to do as a company, but then also as a team for the customer at the end of the day? The customer is the main boss, so to speak. But in large organizations, sometimes that can get lost, right? Because you're not always so close to the customer. So I think this purpose, inspiring purpose for your team, setting direction of where you want to go and where we need to go and what we need to deliver, but the best way how to get there. Very often that your team knows better, or I found out that my team knows better, and just bringing them in, allowing them participate, right, in the decision-making process or solutioning process, definitely, is something that I found for myself worked very well.
Beautiful. Yeah, this is what I teach also at university, and what I see, and you just said it, it's people want to know why, they want to understand the meaning and the purpose, because this is engaging them, if you just tell people like in the past, execute, but I tell you, and why shall I do it? Because I tell you, that's not that kind of motivation we need nowadays. It's really about purpose. Why are we doing what we're doing? Because this is, it's the passion that also comes across. Maybe 2 more questions, Nicole, and thanks really for taking the time. It's a pleasure talking to you. So my series is called Leadership, Wisdom, and Insights. So if you had to choose the 3 pearls of wisdom in your management or leadership career, what would they be?
The 3 pearls of wisdom. Oh God, there are so many pearls to be found.
Like that's why we have long chains.
I think it's definitely, I would say listening is one of them, right? As a leader, you really need to listen, and it takes sometimes an intentional pausing yourself. At least I find that with me. It's like, okay, go next. We need to move on, right? We need to make progress, but it's then what is the right momentum there? Sometimes you have to pause and listen, and sometimes you have to take a step back, even if
power of silence. Yeah,
exactly. And I can talk a lot, and my team knows that too. But I think I've also learned to be a good listener, and I think that is a strong suit of mine that I can have. That I can put myself in multiple shoes, right? Perspectives, which makes the decision-making process sometimes harder because there are pros and cons from many angles. But listening, I think, is for any leader. It's just table stakes. You have to listen, right? Make informed decisions. The other one is, I think, curiosity. I think for leaders and thinking contributors, right? It's for your own career. It's curiosity. I very well when I was at university, and I was surrounded by people who all seemed to know exactly what they want to be when they are grown up, right? They wanted to be management consultants, they wanted to be journalists, they wanted to be auditors, what have you. And I had a good understanding what I didn't want to be, but I didn't necessarily know what exactly is the job that I want to take on, the type of work necessarily that I want to do. For me, it was calming to hear actually from one of my professors at that time saying, you know what? It's not a bad thing. It's flexibility, right? You go with the flow, you see where your curiosity takes you and what opportunities come along, right? You might be constraining yourself. So I think in particular from a career path perspective, the career paths are not that linear anymore than they probably have been 30 years ago. So I think that curiosity to be open to experience different roles, different parts of the business to really learn, and then take that forward and find out what you're really passionate about is, I think, a powerful thing. And then learning, for me, it's learning. I mean, it goes hand in hand with curiosity. It's this, I enjoy it. I don't necessarily need to know exactly why this matters to me right now. I'm just interested in learning about it. And it has served me well, but it depends, I think, on your preferences.
That's awesome. So listening, curiosity, and learning, and this is probably the space you create also for your employees, I assume. And as you said, I usually say, what does my little brain actually know? So if I don't use, the collective wisdom that is actually there, and yeah, sometimes we forget about it. Last question. Now, as I said, I think we're in month 4 of Corona, and we don't know yet where it's going. So if there is only one topic you could focus on till the end of the year when it comes to leadership, what would that be for you?
I think it would be talent development and acquisition. I think that I'm saying acquisition because I think that many, in particular younger employees, we call them millennials, Gen Z is, I think, the next one, right? I think in times like that, you take a critical look at your employer, right? And how they handle the situation and how much they really care for you as an employee and obviously for the customers. And it also matters on what you do, right? What inherently your business model is delivering to the world and what difference you make. So I think that many people start to rethink life is short and I want to do something that is meaningful. So I think that's an opportunity to get, and many businesses also are still grappling with the challenges and probably have to optimize. So I think there is a good opportunity to engage talent from the outside, because I really believe that you always need this constant flow of new ideas flowing into an organization, but of course also have your solid team members that are ingrained in the culture that know what we need to do. So I think really thinking of bringing in new talent to the team, having the team able to step up and actually develop themselves, right, with our help. This is something that I think is what I want to focus on for the rest of the year. If I could focus on just one topic.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, probably not. But I'm impressed actually by that, because when you said looking at talents and also employees, of course, they watch you, especially in times of crisis, because, you know, there are many organizations that have nice words, but when it comes to tough decisions, they forget everything, their values and everything. So I think it's great you bring up exactly that tells a lot about your values and the loyalty you have towards your employees, and probably vice versa.
Yeah, no, we hope we can maintain our pace, and obviously our business. We also had to work through the crisis up till now, and we'll see what the future will bring. But we are actually very proud of our employees, and because they're a key ingredient to our success, and certainly also in my team. These are the people you spend the most time of your days. Very often we're forgetting that, but that makes a big difference.
And you can feel it. I mean, Western Union, I mean, the culture, Hikmet and you and all your team leadership members, they what you create is just fantastic. And it's, I mean, I know a couple of employees in Austria, and they just love what you're doing, because they're really committed to the culture. They love the leadership team because you care, and that's so important nowadays. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I wish you and your colleagues all the best. I wish that you and your clients are having good times ahead of you. And talk to you soon, hopefully.
Thank you very much, Erika.
Thank you.
For your time. All the best to you, and maybe we see us in Vienna sometime.
Yeah, that would be lovely. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.